Hello, my name is Taylor. I'm a financial coach and I help my clients create cash flow systems. And today we're going to talk about how to implement the envelope method inside Monarch Money. This is the idea that you're trying to give every dollar a job. You want to have every dollar assigned to some goal, category, expense, and so forth. This is a very popular method, popularized by YNAB. I would say YNAB does this perfectly well. It is designed to do that. Monarch is not designed to do it, but Monarch has the capabilities and the features to do it. It is just a more modified, maybe more relaxed version of the envelope method, but I still think it's just as effective. This is a common method that I use with my clients who are variable income earners, like very high swings in income, or folks that just really want to be very intentional with every dollar that comes into their sphere. So let's show you how to do it. First off, if you have played with the budgeting features already and they're kind of confusing to you, I want to give you permission to just start your budget fresh. If you click on your settings in the top corner here, you are going to get options for what method you want to budget, how you want these things to apply to all future months. You probably, as you first set up your budget, want it to apply to all future months. In the future, once you set up your budget and you're making adjustments, whether your income is maybe you got a bonus or maybe you just want to assign some dollars as a one-time change to your budget, you're going to change it to this month only as your default. But for right now, when you're setting up your budget, you probably want it in all future months. This is where it already is, so you don't need to make changes here. The thing I'd probably recommend doing is just clear all budget values. I think it's a great way to just really understand what the budgeting is doing. When Monarch auto-populates your budget, it can kind of cause confusion because there's so many numbers in there and it's just, you don't know where they got the numbers and you hesitate to change them, but you need to change them. You have to customize your budget completely. So I do recommend just going ahead and clearing all budget. I'm going to do that just to show you what it looks like. Now remember, we're not clearing data. We're not getting rid of transactions. We're just clearing, see, the actual transactions stay the same. They're always there. This is, you can't delete these from the budget page here, but you are clearing out your budget to start fresh. You're going to create a brand new budget for you. This budget is going to apply to all future months. That's why we left that change here. This is a critical change to the envelope method because some of the envelope methods require your paycheck to hit your account and then you assign every dollar a job. Well, Monarch wants to be a little bit more relaxed. They want to give you, a little bit more ease when it comes to budgeting. So you're going to set up a base budget to start. And when you get income swings, when you get that extra paycheck, a bonus, then you're going to make those one-time edits. When you want to move categories around, you'll make those one-time edits. Maybe you know that this month you're going to spend more on travel and less in shopping because you're going to be gone. Well, then you can make those movements. Like, everything is flexible, but we're just setting up this base budget to give you this core to work from. And it allows you to not have to set up a budget every single month. That removes a lot of that headache. So budgeting features, some key things to know here. First off, this should be 0 left to budget. Everything should be 0. If you're seeing a red here, that means that you've tried to set up goals already. And I would probably 0 those out for just a minute. Let's set up your budget first and then we'll worry about goals. Goals is tricky. That doesn't work the way a lot of us want to. There is going to be a goals update though, so check the comments or check future videos if you feel like the goals is not looking the same as this video, because it's going to get updated here, we hope soon. I don't know. We don't have a timeline. It could be next year. We don't know. But goals is you just zero out your goals. Maybe you might delete them if you're really confused by goals. Just get rid of them. We'll go into goals later. Goals is not something you want to tackle until you set up budget and you're really confident with all the budgeting features. Okay, so first off, you're going to set up your paycheck. This again is your base pay. This is this is what you expect to get every month, or the lowest expected. So if your pay is getting pretty consistent, super easy for you. You just put in that consistent pay. But if it's wide fluctuations, you're seeing lots of variation, you may want to start with your lowest pay. Now, if you're a real estate agent and you have wide swings, you might not set a base pay at all, and I'll show you how to deal with that in future videos. But if you have some kind of consistency as far as like at least you get a minimum amount, put that minimum here. You're going to build your budget based off of that minimum. That means there's going to be some things that are not funded. That means that you require extra income in order to buy certain things. And you're probably already doing that in your day-to-day life. We're just going to showcase that in your budget as well. So we're going to budget that 84, and let's say that's the only income source for us. Notice that 84 left to budget here is now available. What you're going to do is go ahead and again set that base budget. What are the bills that you need to pay for? Now, if you're using your income swings to pay for your bills, there's some more things that you might want to do differently here. And I go over that in my courses that I have, and I'll show you what those, how to get access to those courses at the end of this video. But I go into that in a little bit more depth in other videos. So But if you have at least a base pay that's going to be able to cover your bills, which is great, then you're going to go ahead and set up your budget. So if my mortgage is $1,385, that's what I'm going to set the budget to. If my average for gas and electric, and we're just using averages, I don't care if it fluctuates, that's fine. Go ahead and put in that average. And we're just going to assign every dollar job. Notice that as I'm assigning dollars here, so let's say you have a quarter, like your water bills every 6 months. Maybe you're just putting in $10 in a month. I don't know. Notice that as I'm putting in this budget, this number is ticking down. That is the amount that you have to budget. That's your $84 getting assigned, and you're actively watching it get assigned to all of these areas that you are trying to budget. So I hope you're seeing that. This is a great way to just check to make sure data is coming in correctly. If you're seeing that, hey, I should have paid my auto payment every month, you might want to make sure things are getting categorized correctly and go investigate. So go in your search and search for transactions. But you're just going to keep entering in everything that you know is happening for you, what you're paying for. And again, if your data is not cleaned up, it will be harder because you don't have historical data. So make sure you clean up data first. Go watch the Getting Started with Monarch series. Go take the courses that I have on Getting Started with Monarch Money. It's going to be a lot easier for you to set up this initial budget. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep doing this. As you notice that there is that left to budget is ticking down, but I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest. Now that I've created my base budget, you should be pretty close to zero or getting close to zero. You've assigned every dollar job, you give that, and this is just that base budget. Now what we need to do is make sure you're set up in a way so you can give new dollars a job or big bonuses a job, and it will carry forward with you. This is where we introduce the concept of rollovers. Rollovers, when you hover over any of your categories here, rollovers are clicking on that gear icon and making this a rollover fund. We're going to start this in this month. You can go back to January. I don't recommend it. It's just more of a pain. It doesn't really matter to go back. So I just start in the month that you're starting. So if you're at the end of August, you may want to start your rollovers in September. You might want to wait until September hits or the next month, right? Whatever month you're in. If you're at the end of the month, go ahead and wait till that next month and you can enter in those rollovers there. So if I'm in August right now, I'm going to go ahead and press save. That's where my rollover is, and now it's turned on. So what do rollovers mean? Well, it means that if you put money aside for this thing and you don't spend it, it will continue with you. We just created an envelope. By turning on rollovers, you just made the remaining column an envelope. It's no longer just telling you the difference between budget and actual. It is now saying, hey, you have $6 in this envelope once we turn that on. And that is going to come with you so that that $6 adds to your budget of $90 next month. So next month, you'll see this budget as $96 because we're budgeting 90 and we have an extra 6 that's coming with us. So next month's remaining, this envelope will say 96. Okay, so that is what we're doing when we turn on rollovers, and that's what you need to do if you want to do an envelope system. Now, here's the tricky part is that you do need to turn this on for every single category manually. There is no global settings, unfortunately, so it's a little bit tedious. You're going to click on that gear icon and go ahead and turn on every single category as a rollover. Remember, if you're starting next month, you might want to wait to do this until next month so you're not doing all this work because you're going to have to change that starting month later. Once it comes around, you can't change to a starting month in the future. So you might have to wait to do this if you don't want to start your budget and your rollover process. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. So just as one more example, if I'm looking at last month's budget and I set just $1,200 and I'm using the rollovers, and let's say I don't spend $1,200 on the kids, maybe the tuition hasn't come out yet or whatever you're paying for, we're going to roll over into the next month and notice that it now says 24. It took that $1,200 plus what I'm budgeting this month. If I wanted to budget $500, only $500 this month, it would do that same thing. It takes the $1,200 plus the $500. So this becomes an envelope of cash. These are your envelopes. Now that I've set all this up, you're probably thinking, well, I have money in my bank accounts right now for some of these things. And often it's for like sinking fund related expenses. It might be for other things for you. But you may also want to set up starting balances. So starting balances is when you have a rollover. So if I'm turning something on as a rollover, you'll see this starting balance here. That is for when you have the cash available in an account and you're confident about that. Don't put cash in that's like all mixed up in your checking and you're like not totally sure if you have it there. Like you're not really sure how much of your checking is available for goals versus your bills next month, right? Don't assign anything that's not clear cut. But if you have a high yield sinking fund and you know that there's $2,000 right now for maintenance, go ahead and set that starting balance. What that does is it does set up, it starts with 2,000, you have 120 that you've spent so far this month, and that's why it's saying the 1,880. So you can set up these starting balances again if you have them. If you're new to the envelope method and you don't have a clear example of savings, don't do that. Now, some people do want to show their emergency fund in the rollover, the envelope, kind of like they're used to in YNAB or another budgeting app. You can do that too. You just need to create a category called emergency fund, or just like a category you're probably never going to use to categorize transactions with, but you want to use as an envelope. So in this case, I'll just show you an example. This could be surplus funds. Like if you really don't want to assign stuff to, like when you get a bonus to your actual goals, you just want it to be chilling here, you can do that. You can also change it to emergency fund. There's lots of things that you can do here. You can use goals for emergency funds, so I'll show you that in a minute, but some people really want to see it here, or like as a category, you can do that. You could put it all the way to the top too, totally up to you. Because your income does not roll over, you have to assign income. You have to assign it to somewhere, and so that means you have to put it in an expense category, and that means you might have to create a category for like surplus funds that you really don't want to assign. I don't recommend doing that. I recommend just assigning it now. Set the intentions now. You can change your mind later. It's okay. You can decide not to spend it on whatever you assigned it to. Totally cool. But try to set the intentions early and quickly. So let's say now that all your things are on rollover. We turned on rollovers. We have every single one turned on as a rollover. But now what happens when you have extra income? Well, let's say you got some extra income, maybe a bonus, maybe your extra paycheck, whatever it is for you. You have all this left to budget. Now remember, now that you've set up your base budget, you probably want to go to your settings and turn off the thing that does it to all future months. We probably want it to actually do this month only. And it already is for me right now. So I'm going to do that. So now that any changes I make are just this month, right? If I went back and forth because I forgot to change it to apply to all, now I'm going to have to set up my budget again in September. That's fine. But notice that all the changes I made did not carry over. And that's because I changed that setting, which you do want it to apply to all future months. But for the bonus, right, this one thing, this is just a one-time change. I'm getting this income once. I don't want to assign it to all future months. And that's why we're not selecting that apply to all future months here. So what do you do with this? This is where you set the intentions. This is where you're filling your envelopes. Again, some people really just want to throw it in emergency fund, and that's fine. I do recommend kind of thinking through your sinking funds and what you need to save for. So if I know that holidays are coming up and I'm not going to get another bonus, I might want to fill up this holiday bucket. So now I have $1,200 here. I'm not budgeting every month for this because if I go forward into the future months, there's nothing here. So no stress. I'm not doing this every month just for the money that I have. And then you can do that again with, if you ever know you have a concert in a couple months, you need new tires, you might need to do a ton there. You might have a big home project, right? Like this is where, oops, here, I assigned too much. It went green, or it went red. So that means I don't have quite that much to assign, but I can assign the rest of it. Every dollar a job right here. You've given every dollar job. When there is left to budget, $0. That means you've assigned everything a job. So now your budget is kind of filled up here for what you have in your sinking funds. This then, if you got your bonus and you're planning to put $3,000 to the sinking funds, you better make sure you also move it to another account as a safeguard. You don't have to, it can chill in your checking account, but if you want it to be in your accounts, go ahead and move that. Your movement doesn't change anything about your budget, whether you move the accounts or not. It does not change your budget because those are just transfers between accounts. So you're welcome to move it if you want to. Otherwise, it can stay in your checking account and you know how much you can save from your checking account. At the end of the month, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, here is my total envelopes. This is something you can only check at the end of the month. So it's different from Why Now, where you can check it and match it to your bank accounts all the time. This is the downside of Monarch, is you can really only fact check your budget toward the end of the month, unless you know all your bills have been paid and all your income's actually deposited in your accounts. In this case, it has been. So we're feeling pretty good about this envelope. What I'd want to do, and again, remember, I'd really just check this at like the end of the month. So August 31st or September 1st, and looking at August budget. This $10,000 is what you have in your envelopes. You just want to make sure that you do have $10,000, right? Make sure that if you paid off all your credit cards today, do you still have $10,000 in the bank? If you have way more than that, great. That's surplus. It's emergency fund. You don't have to put every dollar in your budget. I encourage you not to. You don't want to go down to the bare bones. You want tons of buffer, not tons. You want a good couple $1,000s of buffer in your accounts at all times so that you never run too low. If you need it for an emergency fund, then awesome, you can do that, and that's where goals come in. Goals is a really great way to do emergency fund. So if you pull from your emergency fund, you can always do that by indicating a pull. So let's say I pull $3,000. So notice I'm doing a negative sign here instead of a positive to indicate I'm pulling from my emergency fund. And of course, once you actually do that, you'll see the withdrawal here as long as you can connect that to the goal. And you can assign that to whatever you're looking for. So if you had to pull money out of your emergency fund because you have a big medical expense this month, you can do that. And that's coming up, so you're all set. So you can move money between your emergency fund here and using goals, but your goals doesn't show you your balance in your budget, and that can bug some people. So it's totally up to you if you want to use goals versus pulling it out of here instead, like a category for it. Now, how do you maintain this? How do you maintain this budget? Well, first off, I recommend joining our group and coming to our end of month budget review. I do this with our group live. We can have discussions, camera, mic on if you want, and we will go through how to reconcile your envelope method style budget in Monarch Money. We do this every single month because this is the best way to budget, I believe, is the envelope method. We do have other methods of budgeting in there that we talk about, but that's the biggest one. The other thing I would do is make sure you go ahead and get into the Getting Started with Monarch Money course. This is the most comprehensive, the best Monarch Money course you are going to find. This is the everything that most of my when people sign up for one-on-one coaching to ask questions about Monarch, I answer all of those questions inside of this course, and I'm constantly updating it for any new scenarios. So if you're still getting used to Monarch, you're trying to figure out how to use Monarch, you definitely want to jump in here. The link is in the description of this video or at the end of the video, and I'd love to see you there. But please come to the events. We have one at the beginning of every month, plus on a weekly basis. We do other topics, usually every week or every other week, and going over financial topics to just make sure you're financially healthy, but also going over Monarch specific questions and how to use Monarch to the best of your abilities. Let me know in the comments if this is helpful for you, if you're switching from YNAB to Monarch, and if this was helpful to figure out how to implement a similar system with more relaxed vibe in your budgeting process. It really is just a little easier to deal with for some folks, but if you're watching this and there's like tons of deal breakers for you, then maybe you should stick to YNAB. YNAB does this. It is its bread and butter. It is the best app for the envelope method. So if you're seeing what I've done and you're like, hey, I don't like it, go ahead and switch back to YNAB. I give you permission. YNAB is the better app for the envelope method. But I think Monarch does an amazing job. All my clients are using it, or most of my clients are using it in that exact same way, and they get tons of value out of it. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much. Leave comments and let me know what questions you have.